Welcome to another edition of Behind the Mask. Today, I'm very excited to have Kevin Schneider from Immaculata University, head baseball coach, formerly of Newman-Goretti High School, where he compiled a 63-13 record over 3 seasons and won the school's first ever PIAA championship in 2016. Quite a resume. Happy to have you on. I always appreciate your perspective, and I'm looking forward to talking to you.
Thanks, John. Happy to be on with you guys and Rich as well. Excited to do this.
Right out of the gate, how did it go down with the NCAA cancellation? How did you find out? How did you tell your team? What was their reaction? I think everybody likes to hear about how that went down.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the situations, from what I heard, do sound similar. It kind of started off as a couple rumblings here and there. I remember we were playing an away game, and we got on the bus, and my assistant coach John Merck said to me, he said, "Hey, Creighton just canceled their weekend trip to I forget where they were going. It might have been Cincinnati or something like that. They just canceled the weekend trip because of the coronavirus." And we were like, "What? It's like, really?" So that was kind of the first thing that you heard. And then we left for our Florida spring break trip, which I think was March 8th. And that was when it really picked up. I mean, we were in Florida, and there's teams from all over the country. So, you're talking to other coaches, and you're kind of saying, "Hey, what's your administration saying? What's the word on the street?" Kind of giving each other's perspective. And then obviously the biggest one was we woke up, and I was in communication with our administration every day. And then the big one was the Ivy League. When we woke up in the Ivy League, I happened to, train and used to coach a bunch of kids who are in the Ivy League, and saw on their Instagrams and their social medias, "Can't believe this is my last game. How could this be possible?" All this stuff. And I was like, "Wait, what?" And then obviously saw their official announcement that they had canceled the season. And that's when it kind of set in where it was like, all right, we might all be headed in that same direction. So we played a couple more games. I stayed in contact with our athletic director, and we drove a bus to Florida, and it kind of just got too much kind of back and forth and speculation, liability, a lot of questions in the air, where we actually left. We left a day early. And then personally, I don't want to say I predicted it or anything else like that, but you could kind of see the writing on the wall, that we weren't going to have a season. So I was happy that our last game, we were basically able to make it into like a senior day. Unfortunately, most of my seniors were pitchers, and I had them play in the field. But
So it was a loss.
So it was a loss. So I didn't like what it did to my record.
Yeah.
But so I had a pitcher. I had a pitcher on the mound, a pitcher at third base, a pitcher at first base, and then a senior combination up the middle of shortstop and second base. So it was really nice. It was an emotional time for them, because the night before was when I obviously had to tell them, "Hey, we're playing tomorrow." And then after tomorrow, we're going to go back to the hotel, shower, and head home. We're not playing our last 2 games. We had a doubleheader against Washington College scheduled for that Saturday, and we had to leave. So when I said that to him, I sent out a group me text. I said, "Hey, let's meet down in the lobby, and I have to talk to you guys." And everybody kind of just knew, So the seniors were emotional. I was emotional. It was probably one of the hardest things I've done, just because it was so sudden, and the whole game, that whole last game, where it was our fake senior day game, we just kept saying to ourselves, what are we doing? Like how are we doing this on March 13th? Like this just doesn't feel real. So it was really hard. I'm glad that those seniors were able to do what they did. We actually pulled a little, we got a little dramatic, and I had two seniors that were hurt and are coming back next year from Tommy John and from a knee injury that came in with those guys and spent 4 years with those guys. So in the last inning, I had them pull a Andy Pettit and Derek Jeter and Jorge Posada move, and go take the pitcher, both the pitcher and all the seniors off the field at the same time. That was when they kind of broke down, and realized that the 4 years they had put in was done, and it was done in the blink of an eye. You know what I mean? So
it's difficult because obviously we all know why it happened, but it still seems so unfair when this never happened before ever. Nobody could have been prepared for it. Nobody was ready for goodbyes yet, and that made that. I get what you're saying. It's difficult.
Yeah, I mean, this is a once in a lifetime situation that obviously hopefully we never experience again. So to go from it being nowhere in your stratosphere, I remember thinking, all right, after the Florida trip, we'll kind of figure out what we're working with this year, get ready for conference play, who's going to step up, who's going to earn some spots, and then have it be over. It was just unlike anything anybody experienced. And then you see the social media backlash from so many kids, and it was tough. I mean, with my background, I had, I was at Newman Goretti for 3 years. I owned a couple of baseball academies, so I had kids from all over the country that I was just, it was just weird. It still is weird.
Every day is weird.
It's May 5th. We haven't had baseball long enough, so I feel like it's July. And it totally hasn't even sunk in yet with me, with what's going on, with what happened with college baseball, with what's going on with Major League Baseball. I personally don't think we're going to have a Major League Baseball season, but I'm not the expert. I just have a hard time seeing it, so.
Yeah, with everything they talk about with testing and what needs to be done before it happens, I don't think it's unreasonable to expect that nothing happens I can see it being 2021 before we see professional sports, to be honest with you.
Yeah, and some of the options that were thrown out there, my, year speculations and stuff like that. My brother John coaches in the big leagues for the Blue Jays, and we talk often about it. And I was asking, what's the word? And when the one day he said to me, they had a proposal that we were going to play games in Arizona, no fans. The media and TV people were going to be in the dugouts, and the players were going to sit 6 feet apart from each other in the stands and get on and off the field that way.
Wow.
And I was like, wait, so the players are going to take the field from the stands?
Yeah, right.
Is what they're proposing, and go on deck from the stands? And he was like, yeah, that was what we heard. And I was just like, there's no way. There's no way that's going to happen.
Craziness.
So.
Go ahead, Rich. We kept you silent for a long time there.
Sorry, Rich.
Pretty hard. Your brother John, obviously on the Major League staff of the Blue Jays. What has that been like, and what has he taught you that has helped you to become a better head coach? And by the way, what is his job? What does he coach?
So John's been with the Blue Jays for 19 years. He played at the University of Delaware. He's been with them for 19 years as a player and a coach. His story is actually pretty cool. He was a catcher. He was kind of one of those almost Crash Davis journeyman type catchers, where except he couldn't hit as well as Crash Davis, and he knows it. But really good receiver, really good catch and throw guy. Worked well with pitchers. So made a AA, AAA, but had a good amount of concussions and a pretty serious back surgery. So I want to say he was 28 and he went into spring training as a player and left spring training as a coach.
Wow.
And they basically said to him, hey, we were hoping that you would coach when you were done playing anyway. That's what we see as your future. There's a lot of guys behind you. And he obviously made the right move. So he started his coaching career and he's for the most part managed the entire time throughout the minor leagues, from single A short season ball to the Florida State League high A, to the Eastern League in double A. And now this would have been his second year in the major leagues. And they pretty much invented a job for him. His title is actually Major League Coach, which is kind of funny when you hear about it. But he's in charge of he works with the catchers. He works with the hitters and does a good amount of analytical stuff with the hitters. But he's a very good personality guy. He's a player's coach. It was pretty cool. He came up with, when he was in high A and double A, he came up with Vladdy Jr. and Bo Bichette and Kevin Biggio. So he won back-to-back championships and back-to-back coach of the years and everything else like that. So my ongoing joke was, it's pretty easy when you got those guys as your thing. And we kind of have a back and forth joking thing that I still say he's the second best coach in the family.
I meant to, Kevin, they have a minor league team in the Syracuse area or Albany?
They used to. I want to say, because he played for them. He played for the Syracuse Sky Chiefs, it was. But I how minor league teams change all the time. I want to say their AAA is either Buffalo or Vegas now. I forget though.
Now you say he's been there about 19 years. I knew a guy who has since passed away. A young guy, died of a rare disease. He was a left-handed pitcher. I think his first. I'm having a senior moment, but if I heard his name, I'd recognize it. I think his first name was John. Left-handed pitcher.
I'm not sure, and you hear. I'm sure he would know. But yeah, I mean, 19 years, and he just turned 40. So he's still young and very young when you're talking about, interviewing for a managerial job in the big leagues. But to get back to the original question, I mean, I come from a baseball family. I'm the youngest of three boys. Being able to have him, my oldest brother was a basketball player, but to be able to have him to bounce things off of at the highest level is just an unbelievable resource. If I'm ever struggling, looking for an answer to something that's going on, whether it's team chemistry, whether it's actual plays, whatever it might be, he's the guy I talk to, and we talk it out. But he's a big culture character guy, which has made him successful. He said to me, and it's something that I always say a lot, because especially this day and age with social media, everybody's an expert, everybody's a guru. It's about your swing, your mechanics, your swing path, and everything else like that. And he said to me, you can take all the expertise you want and throw it out the window, and these players aren't going to care what you know until they know that you care. And, he's dealing with guys he's the only coach Vladdy Jr.'s ever had. He came over at 16 years old from the Dominican Republic as a millionaire. And so he's got to deal with egos and everything else like that. So I think them knowing that he cares for the right reasons has been a big part of his success. And that's my biggest thing that I take from him. You know what I mean? Is having it be about the relationship first. And if you can build a relationship with a player, that's how you're going to get the most out of the player.
That's something that definitely would translate for you guys at the Division III level too. So that's kind of cool.
Kevin, I just wanted to pick up. How does he like living up in Canada?
So he lives full time in Clearwater, Florida, and then what he does is he has an apartment in Toronto, in the city, that this year he hasn't been to, but last year he did. So he lives full time in Clearwater, Florida, which is near Dunedin, their spring training complex. And then he goes to Toronto in the season, but he loves it. I mean, he absolutely loves it. He raves about the city. He raves about the people. And there's a reason why he's been there for as long as he has. It's not just hasn't been a one-way street. I mean, he's wanted to stay there. So
Toronto's a real nice city.
Yeah, and I was supposed to go last year. I forget what happened. Actually, you know what? I think it might have been when my wife was pregnant, where it came too late, where she probably shouldn't have flown.
Yeah.
So I didn't get a chance to go, and that was something I was going to do this year. But we'll soon enough. One thing I did get to do last year, which was probably the coolest thing, one of the coolest things, if not the coolest thing in my baseball career, was he threw to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. in the home run derby. And it was in Cleveland. The All-Star game was in Cleveland. And like I said, him and Vladdy are so close. So Vladdy asked him to pitch. He, of course, says yes. And I flew down and stayed with my father, my oldest brother, myself, and my brother John, obviously, who was pitching to Vladdy.
Awesome.
So it kind of became a family affair where, you know what, even though he was the one that was throwing batting practice to the guy who was breaking the all-time record of in the home run derby, demolishing it with 91 and not winning it, even though he should have.
Yeah.
It was just unbelievable to see. I mean, we're sitting in the stands in front of however many thousands of people and how many millions of people watching on TV and listen to them to kind of tell their story of John and Vladdy together and stuff like that. And got to go down onto the field after the game and just kind of share an emotional, time with my two brothers and my fathers, being that, we started off, our dad was the president of our little league. We grew up on the field, our local town in New Jersey. So to kind of go from where we started to, having to make it to the big leagues and the All-Star game was a pretty cool moment for sure.
Do you have you met Vladdy Sr.?
Not Vladdy Sr. Vladdy Jr., yes. I visited him in New Hampshire. I guess it was 2 years ago. I visited him we were there about 4 days. And, when your brother's the manager, you're in the clubhouse, you're on field for BP and everything else like that. So I got to meet Vladdy and Bo and they're obviously the two big names you think about with the Blue Jays prospects. And it was a pretty awesome experience. I mean, Vladdy you look at and you see him in person and you watch him hit and you say, all right, that's just not normal. That's just not human, especially for a 19-year-old at the time. And then you look at Bo and you say that's also not normal. But for him, the crazy thing that for me that stuck out about Bichette was the dude was relentless. I mean, first one there hitting with Hunter Mentz, their hitting coach, down in the tunnel before he went through his routine on the field, and how relentless he was the entire time. That's why he's willed himself to being as good as he is.
Yeah.
Where Vladdy is just a freak of nature.
He's got good bloodlines.
Yeah, not bad. When your dad's a Hall of Famer and everything else like that, I mean, he's a freak of nature though. I mean, he literally would do stuff during batting practice where they would do an opposite field round, and he would call his oppo round, and I think it was either 6 or 8 swings, and I have it on video, and he literally hit, you think opposite way, you're spraying balls the opposite way, maybe in the gaps. He hit all 6 balls out of the stadium to the opposite field. And it's just not normal.
Yeah. You can see it when you see him. It's unbelievable. Just the ball coming off his bat is unbelievable.
Oh, my God. So
I want to transition a little bit to umpiring here.
Yeah, absolutely.
You've seen umpiring at all levels of play. You ran travel baseball programs. You coached in high school. You coach in Division III college right now. What are your opinions on the state of umpiring right now? What can we do better? What are we doing well, and what can we improve at all levels?
To be honest, I've liked the college umpiring experience for the most part. I think we've had way more good ones than we've had, quote unquote, not good ones. We've had you, John. We've had you like 5 times.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that in a little bit.
Yeah, and always was eventful too. It was great.
Like clockwork, you could set your watch to it.
But so overall, I'm okay with umpires. Now, at the same time, I'm also extremely competitive. Whether it was travel ball, high school, or college, you want to win. I say to my guys all the time, I mean, there's a reason why we wear one set of uniforms and they wear another. It's competition. It's us versus them. So yeah, I mean, I'm gonna ask where a pitch is. I'm gonna want to get calls and everything else like that. But the biggest difference, look, we all know travel ball. Shoot, back in the day, I had those monster teams that would go to Diamond Nation or go to really anywhere for a while and beat up on everybody. And you have umpires that are doing 4 or 5 games a day, and it becomes a little rough. But again, it's a business. People forget that those places are a business. They're not there just to have the best strike zone in the world for their kid every at bat. And they also forget that the best umpires in the world in the big leagues miss balls and strike calls and calls every single game. So home plate 17 inches wide. If you're playing travel ball, you better make that thing about 25. High school, again, same size plate. I think, and I was fortunate where we had a lot of good arms, mainly all D1 arms. And we would use it to our advantage. We knew that say we went, get me over breaker away and went fastball literally 3 inches off the plate, and the catcher didn't move his glove. We could probably go another inch and he's out on 3 pitches. Are they balls? Yeah, they are. But that's baseball. Now, being in the college level, you see guys that obviously know that. You guys know that. I mean, you guys know that You know, when you're looking at it side to side, all I can see is high and low. I can't see how inside or outside it is, nor can most of the fans, unless you're directly behind it. So when our catcher sticks the pitch and he doesn't move, and everybody oohs and ahs and says, ring him up, where was that, pull the trigger, and wears you out, you know it was 4 inches off the plate, and you didn't even flinch at it.
Right.
Where that wasn't always the case at the high school level. So it's definitely more advanced. The only issue that I've had that has kind of been a little bit surprising is at the collegiate level, I feel like some of the umpires make it try to be too involved in the game. Now, first of all, you have to be involved in the game, and in my opinion, first of all, you have to control the game. Like, and I've said this to you. One of the things I like about you is when you ump a game, you do it with confidence and conviction. So when you make a call, whether I think it's right or wrong, the fact that you did it with confidence and conviction, I'm going to be okay. It's the guys where it's more or less a tentative, call or they pause and you could tell they wanted to call a strike and then call the ball. They wanted to call them safe and then call them out, or vice versa. And that's when it's going to get a little frustrating. That and just, guys need to understand that it's college baseball, but they're there to do a job. They're not doing us a favor by umping the game.
Right.
And we've actually had it. I could be shooting myself in the foot here. I feel like it's almost more of the older umpires that we've had that have been doing it for longer, that maybe don't like a younger coach or the younger style of play that the game's kind of evolved into, where if I have a player that calls timeout for 1 second and say instantly, get back in the box, son, and everything else like that, I'm just like, dude, easy, relax. So, as long as they don't make it about themselves and kind of realize they're there to do a job and not to try to, push around a player or whatever it is. And hopefully they understand, like, yeah, I'm going to ask a question because it's my job. It's what I do for a living. I want to win every single game. At the end of every game, I'm either getting a W or an L next to my name. So am I going to beg for a call? Yeah, absolutely. Am I going to ask where that was or whatever it is? Yeah, sure. But I'm also going to, at the same time, if one of my players, ever disrespects an umpire, I'll tell them that that's unacceptable. There's been plenty of times where a kid's gotten rung up on my team on a breaker that's middle, and they kind of flinched or got buckled, and they look at the umpire and kind of sulk or whatever, and I got to tell you, get back in the dugout. That ball is a strike. Get in the dugout. So I try to think I'm pretty rational with it. Some guys probably like me more than others. I had one guy, he had the tightest zone. I forget his name this past year. His name was, I've had him every year so far. And
we'll leave him nameless.
Yeah, it was something like his name was Bob. And I always, you always write down the umpires' names if you don't know them. It's more respectful, all that good stuff. Don't call
you
them
write
Blue.
Your name down too. Don't worry about it.
Yeah, exactly. And I just thought his zone was so tight.
Yeah.
And the whole game, I'm like, Bob, where is that? Bob, where is that? And it was like the 7th inning. He was like, that's away. And he was like, and my name's Bill, by the way. And I realized, I was like, yeah, I've been calling him Bob for the last 3 years. So no wonder the zone's so tight.
Right.
But it's definitely evolved. And I'm happy with the job that the umpires do at the college level. I really am. Anybody who would expect, guys to be perfect is crazy.
You know what I find interesting, Kev, is we train umpires, not necessarily at the college level all the time, but sometimes in preparation for them going to college. And we say many of the same things you're saying right now or said, 3 minutes ago, just in different sort of umpire technicality speak. Like, I think we're probably going to clip that 2 minutes you were talking about when guys are tentative and selling calls with conviction. Because obviously we want to get calls right, but we teach it all the time. You could get the call right, but it looks awful or you look tentative. You think they missed it anyway if it was close,
100%.
So it's almost as important as getting the call right as it is to look like you got the call right. And you guys are taking in all that information as college coaches and trying to use it to your advantage. So if you have a guy that looks timid and tentative, that's a guy you can probably manipulate. Or go out there to talk to, and maybe you'll get the next one, or maybe he doesn't want you to come back out again, and he's going to call something in your favor. I mean, these are all real things that happen on a college baseball field.
Yeah, I totally agree, and it's good that you guys talk about that. And even go one step further. I mean, a lot of times, the umpires know whose game they're umping. They know. There's a lot of coaches in Division III baseball that I have a ton of respect for, that have won a ton of games and been at programs for a lot of years and everything else like that. So they know umpires well. So if they get a call or whatever, and it's kind of almost a little bit of a timid call and maybe I guess you would call it maybe the LeBron James or now we have the Last Dance with Michael Jordan effect, the Jordan rules and stuff like that. I'm pretty quick to just to let him know that I don't care how many games he's won or what the record is or what the ranking is, get it right. And you go from there. But if a guy controls it with confidence and conviction, like you said, he can have the right call, whether it's safe, out, ball, strike. And if he's tentative, both myself and everybody at the field is gonna think this guy doesn't know what he's doing. He's overmatched.
Yeah, you don't believe him.
Yeah, exactly. So that to me is one of the biggest things. And then just being honest. Like I love being able that I'm able to come up to you and being like, yeah, dude, like, are those really that off? And you're like, yeah, man, like those are off. Or having a guy be like, honestly, I might have missed that one. And I'm like, if a guy ever says that to me, honestly, I might have missed that one. I'm like, cool. And I immediately walk back. But so just conviction, have that honesty and that respect, knowing that obviously I'm just going out there trying to win a baseball game, not trying to pick a fight with any umpire, and things are going to be cool that way.
Interesting. Go ahead, Rich.
All right, Kevin, you got your seatbelt on this one?
Oh yeah, I'm ready, Rich. Let's go.
I've heard through the grapevine that there was some noteworthy and interesting interactions on the field in games where John was umpiring. So I'm wondering whether you could is your insurance paid up?
Yeah.
Could you share some of those stories with us?
So the truth is, I just wanted to make it harder on John.
Very difficult.
No, it was coincidence. Maybe I feel a little bit more comfortable because I think John does a good job. I don't know. But the first one was my first year, and I think John's first year getting into the college game a lot. And again, emotions run high. This is all I've ever done for a living. This is how I support my family. whether it was through a baseball academy, through Newman Goretti travel teams, and obviously now through Immaculata. So emotions run high. Teams chatter back and forth a lot. So yeah, there's been a couple incidences where, we've had things escalate, and I've worn it. I'm the head coach, so don't, trust me. By the time I got back on the bus, every one of the few incidents that have happened, I would have, emails saying we got a meeting at 8 a.m. the next day from the powers that be. But you never want stuff like that to happen. I will say this was kind of funny. We had a situation where, this is a good start. Rich, you're gonna like this. The first one that we had, I think, was kind of my fault. Emotions ran high. We had one last year as a conference game. John was behind the plate, and I actually didn't think we didn't. I thought we didn't do much. We were down by like 3, and conference game late, and we went like homer, single, homer. So we were down by 3, and then within 4 at bats, we were up by 1.
Yeah, it was an insane sequence.
So, and I'm not going to say the team or anything else like that, but the pitcher, it was off the same pitcher, and after the 3rd homer and 4 at bats, we're obviously fired up. He's fired up, rounding the bases. He touches home. I don't know who started what. The catcher said something to him, blah, blah, blah. But the pitcher basically bum rushed. I was like, man, this kid's – the pitcher bum rushed basically our entire team, and then turned into a little bit of a scuffle. The coaches, I thought, all did a great job. The umpires, I thought, did a great job by breaking it up and getting these kids in check, getting them back to their dugouts, getting rid of the tough guy routine and everything else like that. And then afterwards, you're dealing with the aftermath of what happened, who started what, and everything else like that. And the final ruling was that the opposing team, not us, got 4 guys ejected, and which is a lot. And they each, had different reasons why they got ejected, but they got 4 guys ejected. And then John came to tell me which one of my guys was getting ejected, and it was the dude who hit that last home run. And I was like, John, he didn't even do anything. And he was like, and I think you said something like, Kev, when there was punches being thrown and guys wrestling around, I can't eject 4 guys on their team and nobody on yours. So somebody's got to go. And I think I was like, yeah, you're right. Valid point.
I was like mildly annoyed that you're arguing over your one guy when this dude's got like half his team getting ejected.
Yeah.
But it's so funny how it all worked out, because if somebody asked me the question, like, name your top 5 most memorable things that ever happened on a college baseball field, or top 5 most challenging things that ever happened, I think you're involved in all of them. And it's so crazy. But there's so many topics, not even like, if you think back to your first year at Immaculata and my first game, that's the game we're talking about, your first story.
Yeah.
The amount of times you went onto the field that day to argue calls.
Yeah.
Not with me, but leave that aside. I have never seen anything like that in my life. Some of that was warranted by you, by the way. Then just watching that video back about
the video of your 40-yard dash.
That people talk about that all the time. I don't think I'm still that fast, but like I don't even know if I would have ran down there that quick in my 6th year of umpiring. I would have just let you guys sort of handle it and discuss it yourselves. But like I felt like I had to be on it that day. It's just so funny. We could do the whole thing about stories that happened on the field, but I find all that stuff so funny.
I don't know why I was on the field. I mean, I don't know why I was on the field so much that day. I think it might have been a little bit my fault, a little bit there, whatever. But again, I mean, am I ever going to go out of the way to I don't want to have a bad relationship with an umpire, because let's be honest, everybody's gonna hold something personally. I want to have guys like me.
Well, we missed some calls that day, Kev. I'll be the first one to say it to you.
So, conference game, my first year, we were having a good year. We were having a good that was actually our year. We set the school record for wins, conference wins, everything else like that. Had the conference championship in our hands, and kind of handed it away to my buddy Chev over at Keystone, which I'll have nightmares about until and probably for the rest of my life, but until we beat him and get our first conference championship. But so it was an emotional year where we just and I was younger and wanted to prove myself and everything else like that. So I probably made a lot of trips out there. But yeah, your sprint was impressive. When I watched it back, I was like, man, full gear. That might have been like a 4.640.
I started to get some calls because I got a couple years of eligibility left.
full gear, 4.640 in the combine.
All right, let's move off of that. I don't know how much you know about our organization, TSE, but we have an organization of hundreds of umpires, most of which have an eventual goal of umpiring at the college level. What would your advice be to those guys that are looking to get into college baseball? What are some traits that you appreciate in umpires in college baseball right now?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, I touched on a few of them. I touched on the the confidence and conviction. It's something that, to be honest with you, I didn't understand how much really goes into it. Played my whole life. I didn't understand how much goes into it until we actually hosted, and I forget which organization it was, and or if you ever were at any of them, but we hosted a huge umpires convention for my first 2 years at Immaculata. I'm talking maybe 100 umpires, and they flew down a major league umpire, a guy named Andy Schultz from Florida. I don't know if you know Andy. And the really funny part is we get there and he walks on and he's the major league umpire, and he's one of my brother John's best friends. I met him at his wedding and we're buddies, and I was like, "You're running this thing?" So it was pretty funny. But they used our team and myself as live scenarios throughout the entire day. And honestly, it kind of put things in perspective where I was like, man, a lot more goes into this than I thought. It's not just ball strike, safe or out. The positioning, the conviction, how to handle a coach like me who's chirping at you. So many things went into it. So I kind of realized, man, it's not as easy as you think. So the biggest thing is you got to put in your time and you got to train. You got to train at your craft just like anything else. I just happen to be fortunate that we had those teaching sessions there with all those umpires to see it firsthand. But like I said, I was blown away. We even had, a ball strike scenario, and I had one of my guys. I realized that they were hoping to have one of my pitchers throw, and it was miscommunication. We had just inter-squatted the day before, so I was like, I'll pitch. And I think my arm's still hurting from it. But just understanding the strike zone, the timing of when you call a strike from when it hits the mitt. Like some guys, hey, that was too delayed. Hey, that was too quick. You started to go into your motion before the ball even hit the glove, right? Your timing stunk there. So, look, it's college coaches are going to respect good umpires. Like I said, it's what we do for a living. So if you work at it hard and you really, work on your craft, it's going to be noticed. And these college coaches are going to go to bat for you. I mean, we all talk. I mean, when we see who we have as an umpire, I've had other coaches say to me, like, this guy's going to be rough. Or we've said, hey, we got a great crew today. This is going to be good. So you definitely got to work at it. I mean, I think the training that you guys do to me is impressive because, if you're going to do something, you got to do it right. So I've seen, I'm good friends with John Scanzano. I've seen you guys in the winter training there and things like that. So to me, it just showed a lot of respect and having pride in your craft and what you do for a living. And that's certainly how you're going to keep advancing your career. I mean, as a player, if you want to keep getting better, you got to train, you got to work. As an umpire, if you want to keep getting better and keep advancing your career, you got to train and you got to work.
Yeah.
We probably train more than any other organization on the planet.
No, you really do. I would text Scans, like, because he's a buddy of mine, and I like busting his chops and he likes busting mine. And I'm like, man, yo, John and his guys are there way more than you. And he's like, nah, stop. I'm always there. I'm like, no way. I'm like, he opens and closes that place. Like, stop.
He was giving me the key a couple times. I was just going in myself and locking up behind me, to be honest with you.
I have no doubt, because he's lazy and that's how he is. And hopefully he's watching this right now.
He was the first coach we had on here, so he's gonna, he's gonna want some fair treatment on here. We usually never have. We haven't had coaches on here until this lockdown. Now we don't have anything to do. So
did he do it from his truck?
No, but he did have the Fu Manchu going on there, which I thought was an atrocity.
Yeah.
Kevin, we probably had about 20 training sessions this season, including scrimmages and clinics and things like that. And then we got to the point we were ready to go on the field in a real game. And now we're uncharted. So, I mean, we got a lot of training.
Yeah.
But no games.
You guys were in the same boat. I mean, we started, I just remember ran dates. I think our first day of classes was August 27th this upcoming season. What I do is we have a team meeting September 5th. I say it's going to be about an hour. I ramble on for about 4. Go over expectations, what to do, not to do, class, this and that. And then I give them a couple weeks just to kind of get their feet settled and everything else like that. And we start on the 17th. So, we started September 5th. You have your actual non-traditional season for the 16 days and a play day over a 4-week span. Guys are hitting the weight room, are doing everything they can throughout the entire winter, all for that season, just like you guys were doing all that stuff, all those scrimmages, all those hours at Scanzano's place, everything else like that, to be ready for the season. So again, it's just even more unprecedented times where it's like, wow, nothing's happened. So, I mean, I guess the only silver lining can be that you guys got a lot of extra more training in.
We're well trained.
And you're well trained, and come next year, you guys will be even better. Players without, players that were on specific throwing routines and everything else like that, it's tough for them. I mean, I obviously, stay in touch with my guys and other players, and they're trying to go to parks. They're trying to find throwing partners and guys to hit with and stuff like that, all while they're supposed to be sheltering in place. Because I don't even know if you know it, I actually manage the Trenton Generals in the ACBL in the summer as well. So there's guys, I get a text every day, we haven't officially canceled it yet. I'm not too optimistic. But right now we have a July 1st start date, and we're going to play 28 games in basically 30 days. And hopefully things can work out. And so guys are trying to get ready for that. I mean, these guys did all this preparation, and they haven't thrown. They haven't played. I mean, I would say –
where do you play your games?
So the ACB.
What's your home field?
This year, it's going to be Hopewell Central Valley High School, I believe it is. They have an awesome complex, Hopewell High School in New Jersey.
Is that off 31?
Yeah. Yep. Last year was a combination of Hopewell and Mercer County Park. Our off-field general manager, Mike Olshan, is really involved in Hopewell baseball and American Legion there and whatnot, and has done a bunch of unbelievable stuff for them. So he was able to make that connection. But it's really a great complex that they built. So that's where we play our home games. But it kind of went from summer ball being almost something that these kids thought like they had to do. I mean, you're coming off of a 40-game season, a 55-game season, whatever it is, and then you have a couple weeks off, and you're like, man, I got to go to summer ball. And you see guys kind of dragging their feet a little bit. They're tired. I actually think summer ball is one of – I have a whole another opinion about summer ball unless you're playing in the Cape and it's to affect your draft status. But now these guys are like, I need to get innings in. I trained all year long, and I've thrown 0 innings. So where before, if I had a guy, like I know I personally go by a case-by-case scenario with my team. So if I had a dude who threw 66 innings, I'm not going to want him to go and throw 50 over the summer. If I had a promising guy who I project to be an impact guy in 2 years that threw 15 innings or 20 innings, yeah, I might want him to go get 40 competitive innings in. So guys are chomping at the bit to play as an understatement. So the team's been full for a while. I was really, really excited about my summer team as well. We're actually absolutely stacked from kids, D1 guys, JUCO guys, PSAC guys, high-level D3 guys, ton of legitimate pro prospects. I think the ACBL is an extremely underrated league. So I was really excited about that. We all were, and we're holding on that we still might be able to play. But we'll see.
Who do they use as umpires?
I don't know the organizational's name, but do you know Dave Perry?
I do not.
And I believe I said that his name right. But Dave is a guy. He's been an umpire for a long time. He's one of those guys, I don't want to say old school guys, but they're all college umpires. They're all college umpires. And I mean, Dave used to ump my brothers, so he's known my family and stuff like that. He's the assigner, but I'll see a lot of the same guys that we see in college. Gotcha. Chris Pinson did a handful of them. Pinson from MSI.
Yep.
He does college games. But shoot, I tell you what, those ACBL games are tough too, because when you're playing a back-to-back when you're playing a doubleheader, even though there's sevens in those July days and everything else like that, and they're long and they're wood bats and whew, they can be worse than those tournament days. I'm telling you.
That Mercer County Park is a beautiful place, isn't it?
Yeah, and that's where I'm from. I'm from Lawrenceville, New Jersey originally. So
Near Ryder. Near Ryder.
Yeah, I'm literally probably 0.5 miles away from Rider University. How I ended up in South Philly and now Pennsylvania, I'm still not even sure. But I'm a Jersey guy right next to Rider. So I grew up playing at Mercer County Park and kind of seeing the evolution of it. It was really, really great when they built it, kind of settled in, and then they put a lot of, money back into it and made it a great complex, 2 great fields right there at the park where there's a lot of good games.
I always tell John it's my favorite place to do games.
Yeah, it's definitely a good place to do games. Night games are always good with lights. They have lights on both fields.
It's like the field's like Yankee Stadium.
Yeah, I mean, night games are the best. Night games are the best. I would like it as an umpire too. I don't like it in 100-degree weather wearing a pullover and baseball pants. I certainly wouldn't want to like wearing, gear and the wool pants you guys wear or whatever it is. I'd be hurting. So I'm all for the night games, for the atmosphere, for get a nice little, maybe a nice little breeze. We had some good ones at Mercer last year.
Here's what we're going to do. We're running pretty long here, Kev. So if you're cool with it, Rich has one more question for you, and then we can cut this, take a 2-minute break, and then give you the mailbag questions that people submitted if you have time.
Yeah, man, sounds good.
Okay, Rich, go ahead.
All right, Kevin, as a Division III NCAA coach, what is your pitch when you're out there on the recruiting trail? You're sitting in someone's home talking to mom and dad. Why Immaculata and why Kevin Schneider? Make the sales pitch.
Rich, that's the best question ever. And to give you the Cliff Notes version is going to be hard for me because anybody who knows me, one recruiting call, my wife especially, is about an hour and a half.
Let's try to get through this by 6:30.
Yeah. So, but honestly, well, for one, I believe in the university. When I saw Immaculata University and I first looked at its exterior, we have arguably the best field and facilities in the entire Northeast. The field is practically a pro stadium. The way they built it with the sight lines to the in-ground dugouts to our indoor batting cage facility down the right field line to our state-of-the-art athletic training center right down the left field line inside Alumni Hall. It's a phenomenal setup. So it checks all the bells and whistles that a lot of these kids are looking for. The university itself is beautiful. I say it's like a mini Notre Dame. Why Kevin Schneider and come play baseball for me? My biggest thing I pride myself on, and like I said, I've been through a lot of different levels, so pretty much every level, and I think it starts with the human relationship first. I know it sounds corny, I know it sounds cliche, but if you ask anybody who's ever played for me, they know that they'll tell you that if you play for me and you're loyal to me, I will give you everything I have. And that's on the field, off the field, and for the remainder of their life. So, it's a lot about that. And then when it comes to development, I think we put ourselves in a place where, we can develop guys better, as good as anybody. I mean, right now I have a staff of myself as the head coach, John Merck as my assistant, who was the head coach at Camden County Community College and had success there. I'm a pitching guy, but then I have another pitching coach, Connor Springsteen, who I trained and played for me. He's kind of like a mini me. I have an outfield coach, and we have a hitting / catching coach, but his full-time job is baseball specific strength and conditioning. So we have a 5-man staff that includes essentially a full-time on-staff strength and conditioning guy. So when we break up our practices and everything else like that, they're extremely efficient. And from the developmental aspect, like I ask kids all the time, like, hey, what are you looking for? And they say, I'm looking for a place. I want to get better. I want to improve. I want to this and that. And the outline for the development, I think, is there, and it's second to none. And then besides that, and it's not just saying every coach wants to win. I think we're gonna win a lot of games. I think we're gonna win a lot of games. I mean, these kids play their whole careers to get to college, and you want to win. So I have nowhere come close to doing what I plan and hope to do at Immaculata. But knowing myself, I know that I won't stop until I do it. Until we've won conference championships, until we've won regionals, top 25 team in the country, whatever it might be. And fortunately for me, for the last 14 years, everything I've ever said I'm going to do, I've done. So that's the biggest thing I can say to guys, is I'm not just saying it because I'm saying it. I'm saying it because everything I've ever said I'm going to do, I've done. Other than that, I might map, throughout that. My brother coaches in the bigs, and he, like I said before, he's the second best coach in the family. So that's always a pretty good, check mark for me. Or I might have, some of my big league guys reach out to players and tell them that I'm the man.
Kevin, where do I sign?
Let's go, Rich. I want a power arm. I'm a big sinker slider guy, heavy sinker. What are you like 88 to 92 with your sinker?
Listen, I can step in. Rich is very organized. I don't know what he's going to give you on the field. He's organized. He's articulate.
I do need the organizational help. I've always joked around that I need a full-time assistant just in life.
I pitched D3 at a college in upstate New York, but the weather was always bad. So we went from a season called winter into a season that was called mud.
Yeah.
So we lost a lot of our games, but I'll agree with you on one thing. You come off very sincere, and Immaculata is a beautiful place. I've been out there a number of times.
Thank you. Yeah, it really is, and I'll be honest. One thing I do say, and look, and I don't want to ramble on too long, but you ask a kid what he wants to do these days. So many kids say they want to play pro ball. I want to be a pro guy, right? And I would never say, if you come play for me, you're going to play professional baseball. I would never say that. Kids get themselves drafted, but my background of, the baseball academy, the travel ball, the having players go in the first round, and the relationships that I've developed over the last 15 years, I think does give me a little bit of an advantage where I can say, look, man, if you're going to have to play pro ball, I can help with that process as well. You know, the people have it so skewed as Division 1, 2, and 3. It's crazy. If anybody watched Toby Wilkes play last year at Penn State Berks, they would say this kid should be the starting third baseman at Vanderbilt, and he was at Penn State Berks. So, understanding how good the competition is and how, if that is a possibility, I will also make it a huge priority to empty and use every resource that I have, just to give them an opportunity, even if it is just an indie ball tryout or having a regional scout come out and watch them play a few times or whatever it is. I've been fortunate enough to build those relationships. So
we've got there's actually a question in the mailbag that you'll probably will appreciate, where you can expand a little bit on that stuff actually. So we ran so long, we're going to cut this now and come back with Kevin for all the fan submitted questions. He can handle those as he wishes. So thanks for sticking around. We'll be back in a few minutes.